Back in the first part of 2021, Cara Dune actress Gina Carano was fired from Lucasfilm. Why do we say she was fired? Because she was let go in the nastiest way possible, with Lucasfilm themselves decrying her and releasing statements publicly to make sure that no one would associate Lucasfilm and Gina Carano. It's been years, and we've been waiting on a consistent flow of Cara Dune merchandise. She hasn't been recast. We can only speculate why. But now, all of a sudden, out of the blue, we're seeing that the Star Wars Encyclopedia now has an entry for this fan favorite character. We think we know why. We have a little speculation here, and why the author of that encyclopedia was surprised himself. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Every now and then we get to talk to somebody very specific that has knowledge about what goes on at Lucasfilm. And not trying to toot our own horn here. There's a story from Mr. Marvin Montanero here. That we got a little bit more access, and I want to say thank you very much to the people who accommodated it, and also that we got to talk to somebody involved. At least in the past, on the Star Wars Encyclopedia. Gina Carano returns to Star Wars lore. New Lucasfilm publication includes Cara Dune. I've been saying Cara, but it's Cara, isn't it? Look at it there. There's Gina Carano. To the shock of many, Gina Carano appears in the new Star Wars Encyclopedia published by DK and released this month. However, there's absolutely no mention of any characters associated with failed Disney Plus series The Acolyte, the brainchild of Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, Leslie Headland.
Lest we ever forget, I have to always just, remind people.
Yep. It's her biggest claim to fame. Carano's character, Cara Dune, gets a large photo and a full write-up detailing her history, military service, and adventures with the Mandalorian and Grogu. Dune was prominently featured in the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian and was set to receive her own spin-off series on Disney Plus called Rangers of the New Republic. Disney would try to tell you that's not true, but it's true. Gina's inclusion in the Star Wars Encyclopedia shocked many due to her very public feud with Lucasfilm and Disney. The company failed to renew or fired Gina back in 2021 after she shared a political meme on X that criticized the way today's society treats conservatives. I'm not even sure that it directly called out how I don't know the word conservative appeared in there, but the people at Lucasfilm definitely took it that way. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there, Marvin. What?
No, I don't think the word appeared in there, but it was the point she was making. But that's how Lucasfilm took it. Yeah.
Yep. And they were already pretty angry at her for being a reasonable person. Lucasfilm maligned her on social media, leaving Carano effectively canceled by the huge Hollywood studio. I want to get to this tweet by Adam Bray here. In case you were wondering, Cara Dune is featured in the new DK Star Wars Encyclopedia, and you can order a signed copy by me directly from me. So this is the one I want to talk about right here, and maybe not everybody knows this. They did 3 different editions of this book with Adam Bray involved in it, and he did a majority of the work. He was a DK. I don't think he still works for DK. I don't know. I'll reach out and ask him. But he worked for DK and Lucasfilm, and people that you've heard their names vouched for the quality of this guy's work here. And how can I say this without telling too much about another story? People that are notorious in the space for knowing the lore vouched for this guy's ability to talk about Star Wars with accuracy at length. So I'm being vague, but maybe you can all understand what I'm saying here. The quality is not a question here when it comes to Adam Bray.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell you that one before we started, Marvin, but for some reason, several years ago, they cut this guy completely out of the project because of a directive from Disney and Marvel. By the way, he also wrote several Marvel encyclopedias for DK as well. So uber nerd here. I mean that in the most respectful, most majestic way here. This is a guy who knows Star Wars, who knows Marvel, and they cut him out. Hey, guess why they cut him out?
I'm gonna guess because 'cause he's, 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 'cause he the clearly isn't what they're looking for in terms of checkboxes.
Well, I was just going to say he's white, but
I was trying to find a more, way to dance around.
Star Wars author removed over DEI. Is Lucasfilm acting legally? We're not going to go too deep in here, but I want to make sure that we're going to cover this. And actually, I'm going to reach out to Adam and see if we can get him on the channel to talk about it.
I'd love to actually talk to him directly, like verbally.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, he's
as opposed to telepathically.
You should follow him on Twitter. But anyhow, moving on here. In conversation with That Park Place, Bray alluded to a canceled Mandalorian visual guide that was pulled from production very suddenly after Carano's firing. I was not involved in that, but it sure smelled fishy that any book that would have included Gina was canceled right after she was fired. So that would be March, maybe February of 2021. Bray told us, my guess is that it had everything to do with Gina. That had to have huge consequences for publishers to do that last minute. Carano's inclusion wasn't the only interesting tidbit to come out of Bray's X account. He also noted there are no characters in the Acolyte included in the expansive tome. This is one of my favorites right here. Slave One. They cut out the word Slave One and replaced it with Boba Fett's starship. They've been doing that for a while, but that's it's ridiculous because there's slavery in, Anakin was a slave. Yeah. It's not race-based slavery in Star Wars either. So I'm just going to say, I really don't get it, but they want to have their sensitivities and they want to cry about the things they want to cry about. And they want to be the doting aunt who comes in and who sees all the little boys playing and having a great time and wants to come in and just fix all the little things to make sure nobody gets hurt and takes away all the fun. I hate this kind of behavior altogether. The kind of person that comes in and tries to tell you, no, you're having fun wrong. You need to do it my way. Hate it. Absolutely hate it.
So it's Kathleen Karen Kennedy. Is that right? Can you find out the middle name there?
That's perfect. Hey, Culture, do you have a copy of the DK Star Wars Encyclopedia by any chance?
I have no idea. I'd have to look. The bookshelves are pretty full in this house, so I don't know. It's possible, but I have a lot of really old Star Wars books. So
I'll tell you, the Star Wars Encyclopedia, I don't know if it was DK's necessarily, but the Star Wars Encyclopedia back in the, way old days, the EU days, was what really got me into loving Star Wars even more through the expanded universe, and really was my introduction into the expanded universe. So these encyclopedias, these reference materials, either made by fans or in other places, are really, really important for the fandom and for providing an outlet for fans to really engage with the actual franchise itself.
This is also the kind of thing that I'm reminded of the Incredible Cross Sections book that I had when I was little. It was, I don't know if anybody is on here would have heard of it. It is just a huge book where they do like little slices of large things like the Titanic or a pirate ship or the space shuttle or things like that. The DK books are meant to be things that a little kid would go over and over and over again. They do Lego books, they do Star Wars books, they do Marvel. Actually, I think my kids have more than one Marvel book. They do Lego Marvel and Lego Star Wars as well, I do believe. But hey, look at that. Our good friend Knee Pain is in the chat. Really stoked you all discovered Adam. He's legit. Never worked directly together, but have chatted. Always liked him. Yeah, I think that Adam has unfortunately ended up in a place where he's been persecuted for just being a normal person here. And
he came up to me like a real good dude who got a raw deal.
Yeah. I'll also, and of course, the discussion of this is happening because Lucasfilm gave Gina Carano a very raw deal right here for saying things that I'm going to say that she was pretty reasonable. And I've said this on the Pro channel recently. She was voicing things that a lot of people were thinking at the time, like, hey, this thing right here, not very cool. Hey, this procedure you want done to every person without testing it, that's not very cool. But they want to come after her like she was the worst person that ever existed or was endorsing or making light of the one of the worst atrocities to happen in German history. Anyways, if you are interested in doing it, Adam is selling copies of the Star Wars Encyclopedia. I just want to point that out. And I would love to have Adam on the channel to talk about the DEI story here. But if you buy it from him, that is the only way in which he makes money off of these books that he mostly authored himself. He put the figure somewhere near 75%. They've completely cut him out of the royalties. He has no say in something that now has his name on it, which is primarily based on his work. Some of that is, I'm sure, because of he was probably doing at will work for DK back in the day. But they're fine to use his work. They're fine to put his name on it. He makes no money on it. But if you get one from him, you can get a signed copy and also support him in continuing on and continuing to do excellent stuff. I just wanted to point that out here. Guys, what is the significance, do you think, of Gina being in this book? We've I'll add one more piece of context here. The Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur episode that was pulled from airing, do you think that has anything to do with Gina Carano being added back into this book? Is this Disney trying to maybe not completely turn the corner, but maybe not be so blatantly biased, or maybe trying to get out of culture war issues?
I think that Disney's starting to learn that leaning so heavily into the culture war issues is what's gotten them into pretty much every mess that they find themselves in today. They're starting to realize that every time they release things like this, things like Wish, things like Strange World, things like Lightyear, they take a hammering at the box office, but then they put out something like Inside Out 2, and it makes a floppity jillion dollars at the box office. I think now you're seeing them starting to pivot specifically because they're trying to go where the money is.
I think you make a very good point. There's a video that I want to throw in here that I didn't have it when I made the video with Pro, but here is Bob Iger in 2021, which is just a short while before Gina was fired from Lucasfilm. I'm going to continue to use the word fired here when describing this because they were nasty. It looked like she was told she was going to be in series, and it was technically the end of a contract. But anyways, let's talk about this one.
Well, I mean, Bob has talked about this eloquently since he's become CEO. I'll say a couple of things about it. You know, we've tended to shy away from politics, and in doing so, I think we've shied away from talking about issues that aren't political at all, like the issues that we're talking about today. Because we believe in doing so, maybe it looks like we're taking a stand. Well, in that reality, we should be taking a stand. By the way, I take responsibility for this. I was CEO for 15 years. And so I manage the company's public-facing processes and how we were portraying ourselves. And I think that we have to be less cautious, as Bob, I think, was just alluding to, about such things and not be concerned. Like just commenting about what happened in Washington last week, that's not political on our part at all. We know that what we saw was fundamentally wrong and that it was rooted in hatred and disrespect and contempt and intolerance. And we should.
All right. So he's obviously talking about the things that happened the day before. And I'm going to say the political grievance there for him to say it was something about intolerance. That's a stretch in the easiest sense of the word. I think that was strictly about politics and maneuvering there. But and it's a great thing he made Black Panther. And if we only made 3 more Black Panther films, then maybe the events of that day wouldn't have happened. Right. This is, I mean, very literally speaking, there are email chains out there that wonder whether or not the Disney company needs to take a stance because of Gina Carano to say that they do not endorse January 6th and the events of January 6th. So it's sorry. I need to say the company's emails about January 6th then went into a conversation about Gina Carano. So this is something where the company decided to say that things that were not political things that were political became not political because it became quote unquote the right thing to do. So they were trying to say, no, our politics are just the way it needs to be. And I think that came out in punishment for, I'm going to say it again, a fan favorite character. So guys, do you have anything you want to throw in here before we go to super chats? And
they are a media company. They are a media company that produces children's entertainment. That used to be a unifying brand. There's no reason for them to comment on the politics of the day. Your job is to create media and entertainment. And as Marvin said, that's what's gotten them into this trouble with Gina Carano, for instance, or any of the number of issues that they've had. They know that politics is really kind of taken the company astray, at least in terms of revenue potential and operating income. And I do think they're trying to correct it, especially in the wake of what happened on November 5th of this year. So I do think they're trying to moderate. Is this a part of it? I'm not quite sure, but I do think we're going to start seeing it in a lot of interesting ways at the company.
Yeah. Marvin, you got anything you want to say there?
No, I think that, what Bob was doing in that statement was he was making a political statement about how they're not political. Vash hit it on the head. They never, ever, ever have to comment on this stuff. They are an entertainment company. They're a theme park company. And, Michael Jordan famously said Republicans buy sneakers too. And unfortunately, the Disney company doesn't understand that. Conservatives have to take vacations also. So, when you make those kinds of statements, you're actually doing a great disservice to your shareholders because you are essentially cutting the market in half, more than half after what we saw, just a couple weeks ago. So, all right, I'm going to go get my stuff out of the microwave.
I love you, Marvin.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.